Hello. This is the first proper Deltarune theory I am making for my channel, and I don't really make Deltarune theories, but this is going to be an exception that I'll make, because I really want to talk about Chapter 4's Weird Route scene. Speaking of Chapter 4's Weird Route, there will be spoilers for Deltarune Chapters 1 through 4, obviously. I might also talk about some smaller Deltarune theories and ideas at the end of this video after I finish my main theory. The main thing I want to talk about is the Chapter 4 Weird Route scene, particularly the moment where the possessed Chris equips the thorn back onto Noelle. Lots of people think that we are growing another red soul inside Noelle, but I don't even know why people think that. What would another red soul being inside Noelle do? I don't think the Weird Route will be the multiplayer route. It might be that we are giving Noelle the capability to be controlled by the red soul that we are already using to control Chris with. That could be it, but considering the original game you play in Chapter 3, and how the white mage that represents Noelle is used up before Chris/you are used up, I don't think Noelle would have much use past Chapter 5. But it could also be that us controlling Noelle is what causes her to be used up in Chapter 5, so I don't necessarily think it's a bad theory. Just one that I don't agree with. But this is where I explain my theory, and it's quite obvious. Noelle is bleeding. Originally, the scene was a wilting rose, which I think was meant to represent the thorn we stabbed into Noelle's hand, because roses have thorns. That animation got changed to the red dot from the Spamton sweepstakes before we got the finished animation of the red cracks, because people interpreted the wilting rose in an even worse way that Toby did not intend. Even though Chapter 2's Weird Route already had bad romantic implications, so it's obvious some people would come to this conclusion. Neither my blood theory or the growing red soul theory works well with the original scene, but I still want to get my theory out there because even in the wilting rose petal version of the scene, you still hear a stabbing sound that implies blood. The red dot in version 2 of the scene and the Spamton sweepstakes represents the small hole we put into Noelle's hand by stabbing the thorn into her. The finished scene with the cracks then would represent blood pouring out of Noelle's hand, or cracking the skin layer, or whatever a reindeer's skin layer is called. Or even puncturing a blood vessel to stick the thorn even deeper into Noelle's hand and causing that stabbing and blood gushing sound effect. I might be wrong about this part, but later on when we think of Noelle in Chapter 4's Dark World, we see the red dot from version 2 of the scene, even if we were on a version with the original Wilting Rose animation, or the final version with the red cracks animation. If the patch notes are to be believed, then this detail supports that the red dot and that the red cracks were not too far off from Toby's original vision. So even if it's not the original version, it should still be fine to theorize about later versions of this scene. Back to the detail of the red dot when we think of Noelle. It could be that Noelle still has the thorn in her hand, and that the bleeding has just stopped by the time we think of her, or that Noelle or Carol removed the thorn and maybe patched it up with some bandages, but the hole in her skin is still there, just covered up, and it's not healed, symbolizing no matter how much Noelle tries to deny it, we are still here, still controlling Chris, and that the abuse we put her through won't go away. So that's my theory, huh? Just that Noelle bleeds? Well, yes, but I also thought of something else. Something a bit wilder. I don't think it will be revolutionary, and it probably won't be true, but I don't think anyone else will put this idea out there except for me, so I will. My theory is that characters with text box sprites can bleed, specifically Lightners. The Lightners with text box sprites are Susie, Noelle, Birdly, Caddy with an I, Jockington, Alphys, Undine, Rudy, Carol, Asgore, Toriel, Sans, Burger/Pizza Pants, the other Caddy, and Braddy. I know there is not much evidence for this, because the only examples are Susie and Noelle, and maybe Sans if you believe in the Sans is from Deltarune theory, and that the reason why he bleeds in Undertale is not because of ketchup or some other red liquid to guilt trip the player. Maybe if we did not freeze Birdly, or had his arm get fried, but instead properly cut him with Chris's sword, maybe he would have actually bled. I just want to get this idea out there because I think that the more Deltarune theories that are out there, the better chance we have at solving Deltarune, no matter how bad, weird, or cracked the theory is. Like I said earlier, I don't think this theory is going to be revolutionary, or is true. It's more so just an idea I had, and not really a theory, and I just wanted to pair it with an analysis of the Chapter 4 Weird Route scene, and wanted to talk about the theory of growing a second soul within Noelle. I thought of this theory when I was watching Noah Gaster's List Matters theory, because I thought the names Gaster calls a coincidence were the characters with text box sprites, but they are not. So I was wondering why some Lightners have text box sprites, and more importantly, thinking about why some of Chris's class members had text box sprites and others did not. We all thought that Caddy and Jockington would appear in Chapter 4's Dark World for various reasons, one of which being that they had text box sprites. But they never appeared in Chapter 4's Dark World. Of course they could appear in a future Dark World, but this got me thinking of another theory I saw in my recommendations a lot. The theory that Susie was half human. I have not seen this theory yet, but I think that text box sprite monsters being able to bleed would give an answer to Noelle and Susie bleeding, and even Sans. This could always not be true, and assuming that the papyrus from Undertale is also the papyrus from Deltarune, as hinted by the Q&A from the newsletters, and if we do meet Papyrus in Deltarune, and he does have a text box sprite, that would disprove this theory, because the papyrus from Undertale does not bleed. I know that this theory does not have much evidence, but even if some parts of this theory are wrong, that's okay. I just wanted to share my ideas, and I am pretty sure that the first half of this theory, where I analyze Noelle and claim that she is bleeding, is fine. I have more Deltarune theories, but I don't think I can make any videos about them, so I will throw them in here. Mini-theory number 1. The thing chasing you in the dark echo rooms of the Dark Sanctuary are Titan spawns. I can't check the code to confirm that it's a Titan spawn, but its silhouette looks like a Titan spawn, and the wiki seems to agree with me. Mini-theory number 2. The Knight created the mini-dark fountain to avoid creating a Titan / causing the roaring. When I first saw the first Sanctuary's mini-dark fountain, I thought it was mini because sealing a normal-sized fountain would increase the Delta Warrior's false LV. See Half-Bred Chaos's false LV video for more info on false LV. But when Susie creates a normal-sized fountain for the second Sanctuary, and we don't get any false LV for sealing it, that's when I knew there had to be another reason for why the first Sanctuary's fountain was mini. Considering the first and third Sanctuaries are connected, and you can freely explore the first Sanctuary after sealing the mini fountain because of the darkness from the third Sanctuary's fountain, I think that the first Sanctuary's fountain in the church was made by the Knight and not Alvin like others think, because when Susie makes the second Sanctuary fountain, it does not link up with the fountain in the third Sanctuary, because she did not create the third Sanctuary's fountain. The reason why it was mini was because the Knight did not want to create the roaring until the Delta Warriors showed up for whatever reason. Think about it. If the Knight truly wanted to cause the roaring, why would they not open Dark Fountain after Dark Fountain? Or even create another Dark Fountain inside of the bunker's Dark World where the Delta Warriors can't reach? The Knight probably is training the heroes for something, and probably created a Titan at the end of Chapter 4 as a test of some kind. Of all the extra theories I'm throwing at the end of the Blood theory, I think that this one has the most potential to be its own video. Mini theory number 3. So originally my mini theory number 3 was going to be about how there would be an extra chapter because chapter 3 took place on the night of chapter 2, or the early morning of chapter 4. But I now know that I'm wrong, so I'm adding this in post to, explain that I thought that Asriel would return from college a week after chapter 1. But I've now been informed from the rest of the Deltarune community that Toriel was referring to Asriel returning to hometown within the time frame of next week. And because we know that school doesn't happen in Chapter 4, but did happen in Chapters 1 and 2, that means that Chapter 1 is Thursday, Chapter 2 is Friday, Chapter 3 is Friday night or Saturday morning, and Chapter 4 is Saturday. And then Chapter 5, the festival, will be on Sunday, and is the start of the next week, meaning that the earliest Asriel can arrive back in hometown is in Chapter 5. I'm 50-50 on if Asriel will arrive back in hometown by the festival, but I would not put it past Toby Fox for Asriel to actually arrive back in Chapter 5, just so we can make the joke of Chris and everyone else waiting for the bus bringing Asriel back home to hometown, only for the first person to get off that bus to be a suspiciously Togor-shaped monster holding a plastic bag containing a mysterious dust-like white powder to mess with the fans before the actual Asriel exits the bus a while later. Before we go back to the normal video, some things have happened since I first scripted and recorded mini theory number 4. But most of the points I made still apply, so I won't be recording any new voiceover, and we'll just be using text boxes when I need to elaborate things. Now back to the normal video. Mini theory number 4. The player is controlling Chris. Okay, this last mini theory is not really a theory, but just more evidence disproving JaruJaruJ's Asriel's pile of dust, and Asriel is the one possessing Chris theory. At the time of scripting this video, Jaru has not even touched Chapter 4 yet, let alone seen the weird route for Chapter 4. But once he does beat Deltarune, and starts making theories about it again, I hope he notices these pieces of evidence against Asriel possessing Chris, and addresses them. So don't go bothering and spoiling him. He makes very good videos, even if his theory about Asriel possessing Chris has so many holes that when I try to play devil's advocate to patch up those holes, it feels like I'm making stuff up. I don't even know how he's managed to avoid spoilers for so long. Piece of evidence number 1. The soul can teleport using text boxes, which are something only the player can see/use, and according to Jaru's theory about the light and dark world and magic, this should not be possible because there is no magic in the light world. Piece of evidence number 2. The soul can read other characters' minds, specifically Noelle, using text boxes, which is something only the player can see. Piece of evidence number 3. In Chapter 3, you can play a racing game against Susie in the green room, but can't win, and Susie even comments, saying, "Man, it's like you're not even looking at the screen." Because as the player, we see the world from an angle where we can't see the TV screen. Even Jaru himself mentioned that it's because the player can't see the screen during his playthrough.
Yeah, I just wanted to revisit that because it's like, oh, that's another commentary on how Chris can't, Chris sees the screen, but we can't. And since we're controlling them, that means we can't play.
I do have more mini-theories I could talk about, but I'm running out of time, and if you want to see some of them, I'll leave a link to a copy of this video script, which includes even more of those theories, in the description, along with the credits and links to the stuff I used. Not all of those theories are good, though, so please don't give me any hate on those ones, okay? Hate the theory, not the person. All I really wanted was to share my ideas, because I don't think I have enough ideas to become a full-time Deltarune theorist, so I thought I may as well make one video that has my Deltarune theories and ideas, so that way they can get out there, because, like I said, the more Deltarune theories, the better, no matter how bad they are. I'm sorry this project took so long. It lasted from the end of last summer to the start of this summer, which is quite a long time. But I did have school, and had to put this video on the shelf for a long time because of that. And the moment I was able to start working on it again, Chapter 5 got announced. And luckily I was able to finish it just in time. I would like to thank my friend Matthew and King for watching and reviewing unfinished parts of this video and giving feedback, even though it was only a little help, and the reveal of Chapter 5 helped motivate me to the end just the same as they did. This is the first high-effort video I made, and I hope you like it because it sure was an undertaking, and I don't think I'm gonna do something like this by myself again anytime soon. That will be it for this video. Goodbye.